With the final installment of Star Wars The Skywalker Saga and the latest adaptation of Dune coming out, I thought now would be a great time to compare the two sci-fi franchises in this latest episode of Ripoff or Not. Now everyone knows Star Wars. It's one of the most successful film franchises in history. It literally changed the entire landscape of film, from special effects and cinematography to merchandising. It was originally released in 1977 and spawned 10 movie sequels and prequels, endless books and comics, cartoon and live-action series, video games, and toys. But many believe it's a ripoff of an older sci-fi book series known as Dune. The Dune series is comprised of 6 books by original creator Frank Herbert, but his son Brian Herbert continued the saga in his own series of books. The original novel was published in 1965 and was later adapted to film in the 80s following the massive success of Star Wars. It was again adapted in 2000 as a sci-fi miniseries. The books Dune Messiah and Children of Dune were also adapted in the sequel miniseries. So what exactly are the similarities between these two? Why would so many people believe Star Wars ripped off Dune? This meme here kind of sums it up, but it goes much deeper than that. The similarities between some of the story and the characters Anakin and Paul Atreides are very interesting.
Both Star Wars and Dune can be summed up like this. The main character is on a desert planet where he is believed to be the chosen one of prophecy. He then fulfills the prophecy and becomes the most powerful being in the universe. He ends up a villain in the eyes of many despite him fulfilling the prophecy. He forms a galactic empire. He falls in love but has visions of her dying in childbirth. She gives birth to twins, a boy and a girl. She dies in childbirth. The boy then grows up to become the new main character and then takes it upon himself to redeem his father. The father finds atonement right before dying.
In Star Wars, the Jedi Knights are a group of beings from across the galaxy, each of whom have powers and foresight. The Jedi also play their part in religion and politics of the time. The Jedi Knight's weapon of choice is the lightsaber. But in Dune, there are also beings with powers and foresight that are known as the Bene Gesserit Sisterhood. This group also plays their role in religion and politics. Much of the Star Wars saga takes place on the desert planet Tatooine, but almost the entire saga of Dune takes place on a desert planet known as Arrakis. Star Wars has a prophecy that the Chosen One will be born and bring balance to the Force. When they discover Anakin at a very young age, he is unusually powerful with the Force and soon becomes the most powerful Jedi of them all.
You refer to the prophecy of the one who will bring balance to the Force. You believe it's this boy?
In Dune, the natives of the planet Arrakis, known as the Fremen, have a prophecy that a boy born from a Bene Gesserit will master the arts of the Bene Gesserit and become the legendary Mahdi. He will then change the entire planet's ecosystem and save the Fremen. Paul Muad'Dib Atreides is born to Duke Leto and the Lady Jessica, a Bene Gesserit. Paul fulfills the prophecy when he becomes the first male Bene Gesserit and the most powerful one of them all. He becomes the Mahdi of legend.
You asked me to inquire about the shouting the other day. The words they were calling out at your shuttle.
Mahdi, something like that?
It means Messiah. They have a legend here, a prophecy, that a leader will come to them from off-world. A boy, the only son of a Bene Gesserit, to guide them to true freedom.
In Star Wars, Anakin Skywalker has nightmares showing him that the love of his life, Amidala, dies during childbirth. However, his visions only show him that he is going to have a single child. But when Amidala gives birth, she gives birth to twins, a boy and a girl. We all know them as Luke and Leia. Their births are kept secret from Anakin, but like the vision showed him, Amidala did die giving birth. In Dune, Paul Muad'Dib has haunting visions that Chani, the love of his life, dies giving birth to their child. But despite his abilities, he is shocked to discover that she did not give birth to one, but 2 children, twins, a boy and a girl, Leto and Ghanima. Paul's visions never showed him 2 children. They only revealed 1 child.
Twins, my lord. A boy and a girl.
I never saw children.
And just like his visions foresaw, Chaney also dies, giving birth to the twins. In Star Wars, the galaxy was a democratic republic until Skywalker and the Chancellor decimated it and created the new Galactic Empire.
The Republic will be reorganized into the first Galactic Empire!
Anakin Skywalker becomes Darth Vader and conquers the galaxy and destroys any enemies in the name of the new empire. This included killing the rest of the Jedi Knights. In doing all of this, Darth Vader actually did fulfill the prophecy. During the time of the Republic, the Jedi were a major force and the Sith were all but extinct. Balance means equal, or a sense of symmetry. When Darth Vader massacred all the Jedi, he fulfilled the prophecy by leaving only 2 Jedi, Obi-Wan and Yoda, and that complemented the 2 Sith, Vader and the Chancellor, who became the Galactic Emperor. Perfect symmetry. So the prophecy was always misread and assumed to be a good thing, but the end result was soon considered to be evil.
So the prophecy says.
A prophecy that misread could have been.
In Dune, the Fremen always assumed their prophecy was a good thing for their future as well. But when it came to pass, the change was too drastic and too fast. It changed everything they knew and was soon looked upon as a great evil. They were not prepared for how quickly Paul would change their environment and their customs, as well as the very fabric of civilization. Paul fulfilled the prophecy, but then many considered him evil due to the large-scale wars and the slaughter of enemies across the galaxy. Even many of the Fremen who once prayed for the Mahdi hated and cursed his name. When Paul conquered the universe in the name of his new empire, many hoped he would draw up a constitution, but Paul denied that request. He considered the democracy to be too chaotic, which is why he became the emperor of the universe.
Yes, perhaps something at the local level. Something impotent, virtually meaningless.
No! Atreides' power must never be marginalized by the chaos of democracy.
Alia knows my mind. I forbid a constitution. Order in council this day, etc.
So the fall of Paul Atreides and the fall of Anakin Skywalker are very similar, as is their redemption through their son. In Star Wars, Anakin's son, Luke Skywalker, grows up and becomes a powerful Jedi that takes it upon himself to redeem his father.
But why must you confront him?
Because there is good in him. I felt it. He won't turn me over to the Emperor. I can save him. I can turn him back to the good side. I'll not leave you here. I've got to save you.
You already have.
And just like Star Wars, in Dune, Paul's son Leto Atreides grows up and becomes powerful, and he takes it upon himself to redeem his father.
For what? To undo what's been done in your name. Father. Was there no other way? There was only one way to bring about the Golden Path.
You cannot control the future.
A man named Wadi should have heeded that advice.
A victim of what he knew he could not choose.
So I have chosen.
It's in your hands now.
Now, after all of this, we need to remind ourselves that Dune came out 12 years before Star Wars, and the book was as big to the science fiction writing world as Star Wars was to film. Other interesting things to note are that in the books of Dune, the Fremen refer to Shai Hulud, or the Great Worm, as the Maker. Similar to how someone might say thank God, the Fremen would say thank the Maker. In Star Wars Episode 4, C-3PO exclaims, "Thank the Maker."
Thank the Maker. This oil bath is going to feel so good.
In the books of Dune, the Fremen mine the most valuable commodity in the universe, spice, which can only be found on Arrakis. In Star Wars, there was a reference saying the spice mines of Kessel.
Where have you been? They're heading in this direction. What are we going to do? We'll be sent to the spice mines of Kessel or smashed into who knows what.
And even their backstories are a bit similar. In Star Wars, the Clone Wars play a major part in setting up the universe that is Star Wars. The Clone Wars led to the development of clones to stop the droids, and this war led to Palpatine gaining more power by becoming the Chancellor before eventually becoming the Emperor. In Dune, the Butlerian Jihad is a time before the first novel where humans fight against thinking machines, robots, and artificial intelligence. It's thought that humanity became too dependent on the thinking machines and was soon realized that it actually weakened humanity as a whole. This led to the illegalization of artificial intelligence, robots, and thinking machines. But that led to a conflict and to the rise of the Bene Gesserit and the line of the Padishah emperors from the House of Carino, which would rule for 10,000 years. This set up the political landscape that is seen in the Dune Saga before Paul's rise. Now, after all of this, before we assume that Star Wars is obviously a ripoff of Dune, we need to realize that the actual stories and character dynamics are quite a bit different. The way the stories progress from the original book or film are dramatically different. But we should also consider that Star Wars has been accused of being a ripoff of quite a few things, actually. For instance, some people believe Star Wars is a ripoff of Valerian, a French science fiction comic book series. I can see some visual similarities such as these, but I don't think anything story-wise can really be considered comparable. Then, of course, Star Wars also has a striking similarity to Jack Kirby's The New Gods. In The New Gods, the main hero is Orion. He wields cosmic energy called the Astro Force. Luke Skywalker uses just the Force. Now, the villain in The New Gods is called Darkseid. His name is literally what the evil force in Star Wars is called, and yet he came out almost a decade earlier. In New Gods, it is discovered later that Orion is actually the son of Darkseid. Orion was adopted by the good High Father and raised to one day defeat the evil Darkseid. Darth Vader also has a striking similarity to another Jack Kirby creation, Doctor Doom. But then there's also the old Lensman book series written by E.E. Doc Smith. It's been said that the Jedi Knights were inspired by the Lensmen. The Lensmen are an intergalactic patrol team that are each bestowed a weapon known as the Lens. The Lens gives the wearer special powers and telepathic abilities. On another note, the Lensmen also influenced the Green Lantern Corps, published by DC Comics. Now, Lucas himself has said he was inspired by the Japanese film Hidden Fortress and their narrative. And then there's also the similarities with Wizard of Oz, the Tin Man and C-3PO, the Cowardly Lion and Chewbacca, the cute and lovable Toto or R2-D2, the Scarecrow and Han Solo, and Dorothy as Leia. So even though the evidence is there for all of them, does that really make Star Wars a ripoff? Or since there are so many different examples, is Star Wars simply an amalgamation or mixture of ideas that George Lucas loved and turned them and created something of his own? Tell us your thoughts in the comments below.
If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for future content.